Admiral Zekthorus of the Hegemony Fleet adjusted his thermal regulator as the bridge temperature dropped another degree. The massive dreadnought Eternal Dominion hung in the void like a metallic mountain, its hull bristling with weapons that had reduced 17 civilizations to ash and memory. Behind it, 1,000 lesser vessels formed perfect geometric patterns, a display of overwhelming force that had never failed to break a species' will. The blue-green marble before them should have been no different. Status report. Zekthorus. Commanded, his mandibles clicking with anticipation. The human homeworld remains undefended, Admiral, his tactical officer reported. Our deep space reconnaissance confirms they possess no orbital defense platforms, no particle beam networks, no quantum shield generators. Their largest vessels are barely 300 meters in length. Zekthorus felt the familiar satisfaction of an easy conquest. The hegemony had spent cycles expanding across the galaxy, absorbing every intelligent species they encountered. Some surrendered immediately upon seeing their fleet. Others resisted briefly before inevitable capitulation. The pattern was always the same: initial defiance, followed by the crushing realization of their technological inferiority, then submission. Humans would be no different. "Open a channel to their leadership," he ordered. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a sparse chamber containing a single human female. She appeared young by their species standards, with graying hair pulled back severely and eyes that held an unsettling steadiness. Behind her stood representatives from what their intelligence suggested were Earth's various political entities, all watching with the same inexplicable calm. "I am Admiral Zekthorus of the Galactic Hegemony," he began, using the translation matrix that had served him well across 17 previous conquests. "Your species has been selected for integration into our empire. You will surrender unconditionally and submit to hegemony authority. You have one of your planetary rotations to respond." The human female, their records identified her as Secretary General, Chen, listened without interruption. When the translation finished, she glanced briefly at her companions, then looked directly into the camera. "No." The word came through the universal translator as a simple negative, but Zekthorus found himself momentarily confused. Had there been an error in transmission? "Perhaps you misunderstood," he said slowly. "We offer you the chance to surrender, peacefully. The alternative is the complete destruction of your civilization. We have eliminated 17 species who chose resistance over wisdom." Secretary General Chen's expression didn't change. "We understand perfectly, Admiral. Our answer is no. You cannot hope to match our firepower." Zekthorus pressed, his thermal regulator struggling against rising heat. "Our smallest frigate could level one of your cities. Our dreadnought could crack your planet's crust." "Probably," Chen agreed. "Our answer remains no." The transmission ended. Zekthorus stared at the blank screen, his mandibles twitching in confusion. In his 3 decades of conquest, no species had maintained such casual defiance in the face of certain annihilation. Even the warlike Krex had eventually recognized mathematical reality. "Sir," his communications officer interrupted, "we're receiving multiple transmissions from across the human homeworld. Put them through." The screen split into dozens of smaller windows, each showing different humans in various locations. Some appeared to be in governmental buildings, others in military installations, still others in what looked like civilian gathering places. All carried the same message, delivered in hundreds of different languages but translated to the same simple word: no. 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 The refusals came from children barely old enough to speak and elders who could barely stand. They came from humans, in pristine chambers and others standing in ruins. Each carried the same inexplicable certainty, the same absolute rejection. "This is impossible," Zechothoris muttered. "Run a psychological profile analysis. These humans must be suffering from some form of mass delusion." The results appeared within minutes. "Admiral," his science officer reported, "the humans show no signs of psychological impairment. They appear to fully understand both our capabilities and their own limitations. According to our models, they have a 0% chance of military victory. And yet they refuse to surrender?" "Correct, sir." Zechothoris had studied the behavioral patterns of 17 conquered species. Fear drove some to immediate submission. Calculation led others to negotiate briefly before accepting reality. Even honor-bound warrior cultures eventually recognized futile sacrifice when their leaders fell. But humans seemed to operate on entirely different logic. "Admiral," his tactical officer called out, "the humans are broadcasting something on all frequencies." The message was simple, a compilation of their historical records. Images flashed across the screen. Humans standing against larger forces, humans rebuilding after devastating losses, humans choosing death over subjugation throughout their brief but violent history. The compilation ended with a single phrase. In their primary language, translated for hegemony consumption, "We have always been afraid. We do it anyway." "Sir," came another report, "human civilian populations are not evacuating their cities. They're gathering in public spaces, holding what appear to be celebrations." The tactical display showed millions of humans filling squares, parks, and streets across their planet. They sang, they danced, they embraced each other under the shadow of certain death. Some held primitive weapons that could barely damage a hegemony environmental suit. Others held nothing but their children. None were running. "What are your orders, Admiral?" his weapons officer asked. Zechothoris studied the impossible scene below. Every strategic doctrine, every psychological model, every piece of conquest theory told him this shouldn't be happening. Species fled from overwhelming force. They bargained, they begged, they broke. They didn't throw parties. "Sir," the weapons officer pressed. For the first time in his military career, Admiral Zechothoris hesitated. The hegemony had conquered 17 civilizations by demonstrating the futility of resistance. But what did you do with a species that understood futility and chose resistance anyway? What did you do with creatures who looked at certain death and said no? The human transmission channels crackled to life again, carrying one final message from Secretary General Chen. "We know you can destroy us, Admiral, but you should know we will not kneel, we will not serve, we will not surrender, we will die as humans, standing upright with our eyes open and our hands free. That is what we are. That is what we choose to be." The channel closed. In the silence that followed, Admiral Zechothoris realized he was looking at something the hegemony had never encountered before. A species that valued something more than survival itself. And for the first time in his career, he wasn't certain what came next.